Hi, little chickies. Nobody's out today. It's not that cold. Anyway, we need an egg box on our chicken coop. And as you know, if you saw the series on that little shed, that's the coop now, and that gray T111 is new. Our gable ends was the existing sheathing on this building, so I cut the hole for the chicken door into the shed doors in the old T111. I've done all my penetrations, holes. I've cut all the holes into this building. Well, aside from the electrical, that LB there. Ooh, racking focus. Anyway, I don't want to go punching holes all over this little building if I'm not certain of what it is that I'm doing. So we want to put real French doors in the front of it once it's on a concrete pad next year. So for now, the whole, those doors will get thrown out. So if I don't like that location, I don't have to live with it in my new siding that is kind of pricey. So now on the back of the building is where we're going to put the egg box. And much like the commercially available or Amish built coops, what's nice is if you don't have to walk up and go all the way inside the coop. See, they do a lot of shitting in the coop. I don't know if you've had chickens. I don't know if you're aware of this, but the less you track the bird shit in and out and have to go in there at all, unless you're mucking out the coop, the better. So right underneath where they roost, they do a lot of pooping at night. So we're gonna put a pan in there that's easy to clean, and then you'll be able to go out and grab eggs without going right into the coop. If the egg boxes are stuck on the outside like a little tumor, it's not a tumor, but in this case it will be. And this is pretty common. So what you do is you unlatch it, and you flip the top up, and there's three nest boxes in here that you can reach right down inside and grab the eggs. And so we've got 6 birds, and this is more than enough. I think you only need 1 egg box for 6 birds, kind of roughly. So I did 3. This keeps it to shorter than 3 feet. So I was thinking originally I put a shingle on top, but I ended up using just ice and water shield here and some rubber roofing. So everything is sort of 10 inch by 10 inch by 10 inch cube in here, and it's kind of lightly built, all just with I had a couple ripped 2x4 strips. So like in the shop here, as a best practice, I keep uniform waste around, uniform remnants. So like I needed the rest of a 2x4 in multiple occasions here, so these were all sort of the same size rip of Doug fir sticks, so they stood in the corner until I need to make something that's light duty. It doesn't need to be built from 2x4. So I made 2 big rectangles. You can see them here. There's the long front and the short side, lower and upper, and I stuck the profile of the box on here that has like I think it's 12 inches to 10 inches here for the angle. I stuck those 2 pieces on, and then I put some short guys across top and bottom and slid this loo on here. It's just 1/4 inch as a divider in there, and of course they can see around the edges or whatever here and there, but that's fine. Just sort of breaks it up enough, but not too much. And then the bottom has just a loo-on pan on it to sort of tip this up without losing everything here. The bottom's just sort of, once again, birch ply, I want to call it. I guess not Luan. It's a nice quality hardwood veneer plywood that I had pieces laying around. And I kind of organized the shop once again. You got, a variety of things here. All my little plywood scrap rips are there. My solid, softwood pine scrap rips are there. Some thicker stuff's in here, treated stuff's there. I got, uniform pieces of plywood there. And this is going to be, once again, sheet goods in sort of these 24 by 48 sizes, And then up there are some monster pieces. The biggest stuff is leaning against the wall. I haven't got everything ironed out in here, but then I got some rips and stuff here. So keeping things around by style helps you find scraps and pieces to do this stuff out of. Also, the T111 was the ripped off ends, the crosscut ends of those 8-foot sheets. I had, it was about 6, so I had 6 2-foot pieces by 4-foot pieces left over. So here's some of that there. Anyway, then we wrap the edges of this top with pellet tape, with window and door tape, all the way around. So drip edge is normally what you'd put on here, and drip edge is just metal. It goes on, it's like angle, very lightly, thin aluminum, and it hangs down, and then you'd put your roofing material on there, shingle, or first your tar paper or whatever you're felting. But I didn't want that little leg of metal hanging down, because you got to grab this thing to pick it up, and it would be getting beat up and stuff over time and bent. So I just wrapped it with window and door tape, stuck a piece of ice and water to it, and then I have this roll of rubber roofing, once again left over from doing that basement door that I constructed earlier this past year. I don't know if you see that. So still have that stuff, and so I stapled that along the back with T50 staples, and then I gave it a big fat bead of polyurethane roof sealant, which I like. It's that PL product. And then I squished it into there and left some weights on it overnight, so it's kind of bonded down there to the one side of the hinge, and so this is where the rest of it hinges up. So it ought to, go right up, flap back down. Now we've got everything shedding water down and away. And I made, because this window tape got barked up right there a little bit and stuff, so I'll probably take some of that sealant, and also the shiny tin foil is sort of catches your eye. I'll take some of that black sealant and I'm just going to smear it around, not allowing it to bond to that, but just sort of as a finishing edge on that. It'll be kind of rubbery and stuff when it dries. Anyway, how are we going to attach this? Oh, the last thing was holding this down. I don't want Mr. Fox to be sniffing around because this is going to be lower to the ground. You want to get the egg boxes lower down, and the roosting, the roosting limbs or whatever you use in there, higher up, because they're going to want to be higher and feel safer to sleep. You don't want them sleeping in the nest boxes. Ultimately, they're poop in there, and then the eggs are covered in poop, and you're all the time washing eggs. So you want to keep the egg boxes lower, roosting higher up. And so to that end, where was I going with that? This will end up being kind of lower down outside, so Mr. Fox or Mr. Possum or raccoon can be nosing around and notice, ooh, that does that, and then they'll just go right up and in here and right out into the coop. So it's got to be held down tightly. I ordered these whatever you want to call these, hold downs from McMaster-Carr for, I don't know, $10 or something for the pair. Spec'd them out. The problem was, and this was sort of intricate here, they come with that component and they come with a little hook, but hold downs of that type are designed to pull things together from the same plane. One component on one side, one component on the other, but ultimately on the same plane. So this was the hook that you get. And it's designed to be like that. And to try and attach him to there was going to be kind of a pain in the butt. So to start with, I tried bending him over. And I was thinking if I could stick him on like that, I could get a hold of him. But it ended up becoming a conflict with getting the screw in, and then the head of the screw's thickness, and in the end you're pulling straight down on the threads of the screws that hold it. Normally when it's installed the way it's designed, it's what's the word I want for that? Shear. You're relying on the shear strength of the screw, but when you start pulling axially on the fastener, which is what this would have been doing, now you're just ripping those threads out of the wood slowly over time. So I had to do some thinking here, and I ended up using L brackets, which I fundamentally hate as a construction device, but I still have a few laying around. And what's nice about this is there's a nice long leg with two well-spaced fastener locations on here, but in the end it's sandwiched underneath everything here before you draw it down. So I'm actually drawing this metal against this edge when I'm pulling it down first, and that is a positive stop. And then it's when you try and lift this without unlatching it that you are stressing out those threads into the wood, if that makes sense. So basically you'll never be doing that. This won't be the cycle that it sees. This will just hold the metal down tight, and then the screws will hold the metal into the roof, and you have that kind of protection, and then you come out and just pop that down and pick it up like this. So in the end, I did some thinking and tried to work to the strength of what I had. I had another idea here that the other thing is, in that case, if you want to pull axially on threads, it's nicer to bolt straight through with a bolt and put a nut on it. Now you're pulling against the nut and trying to draw the nut through the material that you've secured it to, and that's a more meaningful attachment again. So I had through holes there, thinking I'd countersink the heads of screws underneath the ice and water and put nuts on the back and stuff, but I just kind of amended my thinking, and this is working out real nice. I do have a few little screws showing through here. I'll just clip those with the grinder and dress those up a little bit. But you can come out and get what you need. This won't stay flopped like that because, of course, this will be against the outside of the shed, so it won't go any further than this, which will always sort of flop back down. And then you just throw those up and over, and you're all done, and it's nice and secure. And then the last thing is getting it attached to the building in a nice kind of a looking way. I'm going to go out there on the outside. I'm going to take the center screw. I sort of split this visually, this bay, this bay, this bay, put 3 nice long 3-inch screws in here. I'm going to go out there, pick a sort of an elevation and a location, and I'm going to screw this into the building like that. Then it'll be hanging on there. Then I can throw a 2-foot level on here and kind of make it level, and I can zip that screw in and that screw in. Now the thing about the 3-inch screw is I go around inside, and it's just T111, so that'll be showing coming out on the inside. And then I can, I guess from outside I can leave the 2 outer ones and take the middle one out and go around inside. I'll see the hole, and so I can run an 1 5/8" screw in through, out through the T111 and into this structural component here. It won't stick out on this side, and I'll have this thing attached right where I want it. And then I can come out and zip one of these out, go in and replace it from the inside, and then the third and final go in and replace it from the inside. Then I've got the top kind of married to the building, and so everything's kind of level here. And after that, I laid out a center line down here in pencil. Where is it? Right there, right there, and right there. And from outside, I'll use my little square, and I'll throw him on that line, and I'll throw a little pencil line up the outside of the building in all 3 locations. And then I'll measure up that pencil line right on the square. I think it's about 3 or 4 inches to make a little mark there, there, and there. Because what I'm going to do is use a big round hole saw to cut these openings into the building. And so from indoors, they'll step through a circular hole into their little nest box. And it makes sort of a cozy alcove, which inspires them to go in and lay an egg, which is kind of how their little chicky brain works. So once I've got this stuck to the building, and I throw that up with a square, and I measure up that line to where I want to be, I'll take my drill gun, my little tiny drill gun with a little drill bit, and I'll zip that hole through 1, 2, 3 into the building. Now once again, I can go around inside, set up my big drill and my big hole saw where I've got plenty of room, and put my pilot bit right in that hole that I've got already, and be sure that I can zip right in here. This does fit through there. So that'll come right in exactly where I want it to be, in the center of the box and in terms of elevation. 1, 2, 3. And then lastly, once I've got the hole, then when I'm inside, I can see exactly where this lower, because this thing has only been anchored across the top, I can see where this is, and I'll screw in the bottom 1, 2, 3 with sort of, again, maybe 1 1/4 or whatever it takes there. And then I'll have 6 fasteners holding the box to the building. I'll have nice big holes centered on 1, 2, 3, nest boxes. I can throw some straw in each of these, and when I come outside, I can close this down, no problem. This is real nice and clean. These are either galvanized or stainless, I forget, but they're for exterior use. Everything's underneath, the overall footprint of the roof piece. Everything drips down. The side is the same sort of material as the rest of the building. And when we come to paint this all in next year, when we get that building completely right, we'll dial that all in too. And in the end, this whole thing being installed on the back of the building, it's got the old sheathing, just like I was talking at the beginning of the video. And if I decide I want to change anything about that, I am pulling that off next year to start with. And so either the boxes will go right back on because that's been working out well, or I can move them anywhere else that we've learned, we want them, without having ruined full sheets of T111, cutting 3 big 6-inch holes out of it. So let's come back and check this out when I've got it on the building, and make sure that everything's copacetic. All right, we'll see you.